everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. I'm your host, Juliana. Hi, everyone. At Zone to Speak, I know how important it is to stay healthy, strong, and ready for every ride, workout, and adventure. That's why I have got exclusive discounts on some of my favorite products designed specifically for athletes like you. Psych Plus. Their smart pump is a game changer, compact, efficient, reliable, and perfect for keeping your tires road and gravel ready. Plus, they have radar tail lights, smart trainers, smart fans, and more. Get 10% off the smart pump and 5% off everything else. 35% off Frey Skincare. Skincare made for athletes, designed for skin that sweats. Their all-natural, vegan, and cruelty-free products keep your skin protected and fresh. I have been using Frey for years, and I love it. 10% off Cold Age. Premium vitamins and supplements to fuel your body, speed up recovery, and help you ride longer. I personally take the Women's Fermented Vitamin and Creatine, both powder and capsules. 10% Clearly Not Coffee, the ultimate coffee alternative made from functional ingredients to fuel your focus and energy without the caffeine crash. Try it out. 15% off Omri supplements. Whether you are training, recovering, or pushing for peak performance, their high-quality supplements have you covered. And there's something special from me, your host. As a certified integrative health nutrition expert and holistic life coach, I am thrilled to offer all my listeners 25% off personalized nutrition and life coaching with Genki Wellness. If you want to optimize your health or simply feel your best, head to bemoregenki.com and use the code ZONE2SPEAK. For all the discounts, check the episode description for the links and use Zone2Speak code at checkout. And let these amazing products support your health and performance. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome to the first episode of an exciting new series of Zone to Speak, where I team up with Aaron Borrill, editor of Road.cc, to dive deep into the world of cycling gear. This series is all about honest, in-depth product reviews, expert insights, and real-world testing, helping you make informed choices about the best gear for your rides. In this kickoff episode, we are not just talking tech. We're also getting to know Aaron's journey in cycling, his background in journalism, to his passion for endurance sports. We will set the stage for what's to come in this series and, of course, tackle our first round of gear discussions. If you are a gear nerd, an adventure cyclist, or just love to stay up to date on the latest in cycling, this is a series you won't want to miss. So here we go. I sit down with Aaron Borrill, a journalist, endurance athlete, and cycling expert who has covered the sport from every angle. As a digital creator at Road.cc, Aaron has a deep understanding of the cycling industry, from the latest tech innovations to the ever-changing landscape of the sport. This episode kicks off a series of deep dives into cycling gear, where we'll break down what works, what's a fad, and what every cyclist should know. I also dive into Aaron's journey in media, his passion for the sport, and his take on the latest tech shaping the industry. Whether you are a gear nerd, a weekend warrior, or a competitive racer, this series is packed with insights from someone who truly lives and breathes cycling. Aaron, welcome to Zone to Speak.
Thank you, Juliana. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit of my story and some of the cool gear that I get to test as a cycling journalist and racer.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear all about it. So, you've been involved in cycling journalism for years. How did you get into it, and what keeps you excited to stay in the industry?
It's a funny story because I haven't been involved in cycling for as long as I would have liked. Obviously, I rode bicycles as a child, but I was playing other sports. I grew up in South Africa, so there was a lot of cricket, tennis, soccer. Cycling wasn't massive. I've been cycling since 2013, so it's 10 years, 11 years, somewhere around there. And it was only in 2012 when I started at one of the magazines I worked for, which was a car magazine. I'm also a former motoring journalist. And at the time, all my colleagues were riding bicycles and they kind of peer pressured me into getting a bike. Didn't know what I was getting myself into. But yeah, the bug bit really hard, and the rest is history. I got into cycling journalism in 2016. So the company I worked for, Top Car, was part of a massive publishing house, and they had the license for Bicycling Magazine. So it was Bicycling Magazine South Africa, which was in the office next door to ours. And there was a position that opened as digital editor. I applied for the job. I got the job. And yeah, I've been involved in cycling, mainstream cycling journalism ever since. And as a journalist, I've been writing about all sorts of things with wheels since for 19 years. So I've got experience on both sides of the fence, anything with wheels. I've even worked in kind of corporate communications for the Cape Epic. I did a 1-year stint there,
Oh, cool.
which was pretty fun. I prefer content creation though. So I left there after a year because I was itching to create things. But it was a nice experience and I enjoyed that. But what keeps me excited is probably the innovation and the tech development, the new bikes and the products. There's always something new being created, and this forces us to move with the times, even as a journalist. And that's both on and off the bike. Everything is getting faster, the bikes, the races, even media production. And I just enjoy the speed and the intensity of everything.
Yeah, it's incredible, but at the same time, as a cyclist, and it's just so hard to choose gear, to choose the right bike, the right size, the right setup. So, of course, it's amazing to have, you and channels like Road.cc that we can go and try to figure it out a little bit. So how does it work? Like at the channel, how like do brands send stuff for you guys to review, test, or you, of course, trying to keep up with the industry, you go and get those things, or you contact the brands? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a combination of the two. Obviously, at Road.cc, we've been around for a long time now. We've got a sizable presence, and we're kind of a trusted authority when it comes to all things cycling. So a lot of the brands will contact us, and because we're a tier 1 media publication, we're on sort of the A list, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So when new products are being launched, we are contacted, either going to attend the launch or being sent the product ahead of time, so that when the embargo lifts, we can have our tests done, etc. But then there are also products that we request personally, and that could be like a startup brand or a brand that perhaps hasn't thought about contacting us. I mean, if there's something that needs to be reviewed, we will review it. But we're in a pretty special space where we get a lot of the brands contacting us first.
Okay. That makes sense, being a mix of the two. And so gravel and bike packing, endurance cycling have exploded lately. What do you think is driving this shift, and where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think it's the freedom of doing something different. I think the pure racing side of things has always dictated where the sport has gone, and there's always been a massive focus on power and speed and performance. And the pro peloton, it's a cutthroat place. You either need to succeed or you get eaten up very, very quickly. And it can be a hard, tough place for riders. And I think endurance and gravel cycling has created a new avenue for these riders. And obviously that's pertaining more to the pro side, but I think also as general enthusiasts for the sport, it's also given another offshoot for us to explore. I also think the rise of social media and content creation, and to a certain extent, even the cycling influencer, it's given these athletes a new path to take, and we're getting different people becoming authorities on the same sport. So it's not the same people and the same riders telling us what we need to do. The other people, everyday people, your neighbor next door can now actually be an authority on the sport and show people what it's about and bringing more people to the sport we all love. And I think we're seeing this among the amateurs and the pro riders, and cycling is it's becoming more about adventure and the discovery than the breakneck speeds and power that you need to be able to compete at the best. And I think that is shaping the future. You don't have to be a pro. We just need to embrace the culture and the lifestyle, and I think the rest will all fall into place.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's one of the things I love about endurance cycling or gravel. It's just like, you don't need to be a pro. You don't need to be the strongest. You don't need to be the fastest. You can, and it's amazing, but you don't have to be. You can just, experience yourself, new places, new routes, new discoveries. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think we tend to get sucked into riding our bikes fast all the time. And often you kind of lose the focus and you're kind of hunting the destination as opposed to enjoying the journey. And if you slow things down a bit and kind of just tap into what's happening around you, you get to experience things you actually just didn't see before because you're so focused on your cycling computer, trying to grab that segment and not looking around. There's a lot of nature you can take in. There's animals, there's things you can see, and you just need to enjoy it more and just like dial things back a bit.
100%. Yeah, I used to be more competitive, but now I just really enjoy. I mean, and even taking it easy is not easy, you have to push a bike. A lot of times the bike has bags. You have to plan your nutrition, like where you're going to supply for food and for water. But even though it's still a challenge, it doesn't matter what speed you go. I am really enjoying just, quote unquote, stop and smelling the flowers, sometimes literally. Yeah, it's nice. I was at the migration race, I think 3 years ago, and it was so fast. And I don't think I was last, maybe middle of the pack, but I really wanted to enjoy seeing all the animals, like you're in the middle of the Masa Mara. When am I going to come back here? I don't know. I want to fully enjoy, I want to make the money I pay to be there worth all the hours I have to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's special. Yeah. It's special the way the sport is going now. And I think we don't have to focus on being the fastest and the best. Obviously, there is that avenue if you want to chase that. And there are a lot of young, aspiring riders who want to go that route, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's also other avenues. And I think having these avenues, we're going to get different kind of riders coming to the fore. And I think cycling is in a pretty special place at the moment that affords riders these opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. You can be anything, you can be the fastest, the strongest, or you can be the red lantern and have a great time or not even be on a race. So of course, for myself, I want to be strong, but I want to be strong so I don't struggle. I just want to be able to be all day on my bike and still feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So someone like you that tests and reviews a lot of gear, what's the most exciting tech or innovation you have seen recently?
Okay, I wouldn't say it's exciting. I'm probably going to be sort of drawn and quartered by my colleagues for saying this, but it's something that I didn't realize the significant impact in terms of my riding. And I would say it's the move to wider tires and tubeless technology. So if we look back a decade, thinner tires and harder tires was always considered the fastest.
Yeah.
Some riders still think this, but comfort and compliance is trumping this train of thought. It's been proven on rolling road tests, on the wind tunnel, and even athletes racing events like Unbound Gravel, Cape Epic, cross country, cyclocross, and even road. Everyone's embracing sort of this notion of wider tires and lower pressures. You see, and the reason for this, a lot of people don't understand this. And the reason behind this is that the more the tire can deform over the surface and maintain a solid contact patch, the better the grip and the power transfer. This also improves the comfort. It prevents the tire from skipping across the surface, and ultimately, it's not going to slow you down as much as you think. It's actually going to make you faster. So I think the more we can embrace and kind of get out of this mindset where everything has to be thinner and harder. It's not. It is not faster. I've even experienced this in time trialing, because I do a lot of time trialing too in the United Kingdom. It's massive. Yeah. Coming from South Africa, time trialing wasn't big at all. When I first moved here 5 years ago, I just couldn't believe what was going on. It's a huge culture, like time trialing and hill climbing. And what I found when I first started doing the time trialing, I was using 23C to 25C tires. Now I'm on 28C, which kind of sounds counterproductive, counterintuitive, but I'm going the fastest on thicker tires with lower tire pressures. So that is an innovation that is actually accessible to everyone, and it's not expensive. If you want to go faster, you don't need the lightest bike, you don't need the best shoes, the best kit. Start on things like a contact patch, which is a tire, and you can just experiment, work with wider tires, work with lower pressures, and eventually you're going to find a sweet spot for you and for your weight, and you're going to go faster, and you're going to thank me later.
Wow. I think that's really, really good piece of information because, like you said, it's affordable, it's reachable. Anyone can do that. Change it today. I thought it was more because thicker tires, you won't make you slower, but I didn't know it actually can make you faster.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about improving that comfort. And if you think about it, if you set up your gravel bike and you're running tubes even, and your tires are too hard, not only are you going to spin out, or we'll spin up a steep incline, you're not going to have that purchase. The tire isn't going to be doing what it's designed to do. It's called traction. It's called grip. And the only way you can enforce that is by finding a sweet spot tire pressure that works for you. And tires are designed to increase that contact patch between the tire and the surface, increasing friction. And that's going to help with grip, it's going to help with comfort, and it's probably going to lessen some of the vibrations you get coming through your bike, especially the people that are riding gravel who aren't possibly using a suspension fork up front. Your first line of suspension on any bike are your tires, actually. And then you can look moving into suspension, etc. But I reckon wider tires and lower tire pressures are the way to go.
And I think I'm stating the obvious, but the tire pressure can also depend on the cyclist's weight, right? Because a lot of people come to me and say like, oh, what's your tire pressure? Well, I can tell you, but we're different weights, so it might not work for you, the same tire pressure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of online calculators. I think Zip has a very impressive online calculator, which can get it almost perfect for your weight, but it's not a hard and safe rule. You have to experiment a bit. And, something riders often forget is that your tire pressures vary from front to back. So I tend to run a softer tire pressure on the front because that is what's giving me my control and my grip. And I'll have a slightly higher tire pressure at the rear because most of my weight is transferred at the rear. So it's just about finding that balance and seeing what works for you. I always recommend, once you've found something that works for you, try and map out a little route, given that there's a forest around you or some kind of course, and set a little base time of maybe over a 1 kilometer circuit, and start with a harder tire pressure, move your tire pressure slowly down, let some air down after each run, and just see what worked for you. You'll be surprised like the control and comfort you get to dial in, especially for the corners. The faster you go around a corner, the faster you're going to go, pretty much. So.
Yeah. And the tire pressure will, I want to say obviously, but I'm not sure, change from gravel to tarmac.
Yeah.
So you should adjust there as well. I think tarmac, you do a little bit more tire pressure.
Yes. Yeah. 100%.
And talking a little bit about your journey, you have competed in some endurance events yourself. What has been some of your most memorable experiences on the bike? Tell me a little bit more about like your journey overall.
Okay, so I've now done hundreds of races, probably hundreds, I'd say. And to give a little bit of context, when I first started, wouldn't say I was horrendously unfit or overweight, but I wasn't cycling fit. And I was around 85 kilograms. I'm now 61. So it was like
Wow. Yeah, you look really
20
slim.
odd, there's a 20 odd kilogram difference.
Wow.
And that's just from the bike. I don't do any gym work. I just ride my bike 7 days a week, 365 a year.
Wow.
And then I improved just by being exposed to a greater stimulus. So the harder the rides and the stronger the riders around me, the faster I got. I started on a coaching plan about 8 years ago just to see what that was about. And over a few years, you kind of get to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So you don't really need to use that plan anymore. And I'm kind of have a good idea of what works for me and what doesn't work. But in terms of events that stand out for me, number one is the Cape Epic. It's an absolutely savage race.
Yeah.
I've also done Haute Alps, which was
Okay,
quite a hard road race. And I've also competed in a lot of cycling esports events, like on Zwift and My Wish. I've done 3 world championships on that, UCI World Championships, which were really, really hard. But all three of these races are hard and tough for different reasons. For the Cape Epic, for argument's sake, it's the culmination of the intense heats, the terrain, and the toll these two realities take on the body for 8 days. So you're kind of sleeping in tents in a race village. The temperatures range from 35 degrees to 45 degrees Celsius. So it gets really hot out there. There's lots of sand. There's crazy thorns. There's wild animals. It's a strong battle with your mind. So you got to be physically fit, but you got to be mentally strong too, because on paper, the stages look a lot easier than they are in reality. So you're looking at between 60 and 80 kilometers a day with 2,000 to 4,000 meters of climbing on like unrideable.
On a mountain bike. This is not road race. If someone doesn't know what Cape Epic is, it's a massive mountain bike race in South Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, they call it the Tour de France of mountain biking, just to give a bit of context.
And you do it as a pair as well, right? So you also have to work together with your teammate.
So kind of you need to manage your partner, and you can only you technically only as fast as your partner. So there's a crazy dynamic involved, but yeah, I've managed to do 2 of those, so I'm happy with that. It's a very, very special race. Haute I did in 2019 when I moved over to Europe from South Africa in the UK. It was something I always wanted to do and aspired to do. It's very different. It's very different to the racing in South Africa, because the road race in South Africa, it's much shorter distances than in Europe. You're doing like between 18 and 100 kilometer races with not a lot of climbing. But Haute it's between 3 and 7 days and 120 Ks with just ridiculous climbing, like 4,000 meters of climbing. So it poses a different challenge. It's a beautiful race. It's hard for different reasons. I wouldn't say Haute tougher than the Cape Epic or the Cape Epic tougher than Haute. They both have their pros and cons in terms of what the demands on the body. I loved both those races and I'd love to go back to do them again. In terms of esports, it's something I got into in 2017. I had a very serious crash on the bike where I went down in a peloton.
Oh, sorry to hear it.
Oh, it was absolutely horrible. Usually in a race, when I crash, I get up and I get on the bike straight away. And after the crash, I think we went down at about 40 to 45 kilometers per hour. I got back on my bike, or tried to pick up my bike, and I knew immediately something was wrong. And what had happened was I dislocated my elbow. So my 2 forearm bones were up into my bicep. So my arm just looked really weird and I couldn't straighten it.
Oh my goodness.
And I found out that I had actually fractured my radius as well on the same arm. And it was in a very remote area just outside Cape Town in South Africa. And I had to wait 4 hours for an ambulance out in the cold.
Oh my God.
It was a horrible, absolutely horrible accident, but it kind of, I couldn't ride outside for 2 months.
And were you alone, or someone stopped and stayed with you?
My wife was doing the race too, and she was in the ladies' race, and they started like a few minutes back. And she said she actually said she saw the crash unfold. She said she just saw bicycles and men flying through the air. And she saw me on the side of the road and she was like, look, you're more important to me than this bike race. And she stayed with me
Of
and
course.
tried to kind of help me. I just told her to switch off my Garmin. But
I had a bike accident once and I thought it was so funny because I completely forgot about my bike. And this guy came and he's patting my head and he's just like, your bike is okay. I was like, oh, thanks. I had forgotten completely about it.
yeah. At that point, I didn't care either. I've never experienced this much pain before in my life because the paramedic on site stabilized me, or what he thought was stabilizing me. And he asked me to kind of bend my arm up. So my arm was like dislocated and straight. And then he bent my arm, which caused all the bones to rub.
Ugh.
Right. That like dropped my heart rate. I nearly passed out just from shock. Eventually, when I got to the hospital and they needed to do x-rays, they needed to straighten my arm. So they had to do the thing, they had to straighten it.
Again.
I was swearing. I wasn't the nicest person to be around. But after that, I discovered Zwift. That was in 2017, and I used that as like a rehabilitation tool. But I didn't really get into the racing side seriously until 2020 with lockdown, etc. And then things just went out of control, if you want to call it, in terms of my obsession with it. I still use it as a training tool because it's just so good. It's a controlled environment. You can hit your numbers.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about cars.
Weather.
Yeah. You're kind of still around the family. So you're not losing too much time in that regard. And it's efficient and quick. And I joined a team in 2020. They wanted to start racing and we had to do performance testing and verification or whatever. And that kind of ramped up. And when we started getting better, going into the Pro-Am races, and when the UCI Cycling Esports World Champs were announced, you could either qualify or your federation could select you. I didn't make it through the qualifiers, but I was selected by Cycling South Africa. They made me captain of the squad, and that was in 2022. Same thing happened in 2023 and 2024. So I'm very much involved with that. I'm the federation representative too. So I'm just trying to educate riders, trying to make sort of fairness and equality, and kind of just showing people what they need to do if they want to race at the highest level. It's really hard. It's really hard racing. It's some of the hardest stuff I've ever done. You don't need bike handling skills, but the power needed, and just the mental anxiety when leading up to a race, because you've got to do like height videos and weigh-in videos, and you've got to validate all your equipment. It's really, really hard, but it's something I do enjoy. It's something I take seriously, and I reckon it's a discipline on its own. Obviously, it's got some teething issues. It's still in its infancy, and a couple of things they still need to sort out. But yeah, in terms of races I've done, I'd say UCI Cycling Esports World Championships is up there, even with the Cape Epic, just in terms of the sheer pain involved.
Yeah. I've seen it on, I think sometimes it's streamed on YouTube, and it's really cool to watch. But yeah, I think it requires a different level of power and also mental strength, because you are standing still, whatever you are, in your living room or a studio. You don't have you have the riders virtually, you can see them, but it's just a different mind game.
You don't have that external sort of stimulus. You don't have people around you.
Cheering racing. You or
It's something that's mostly done in isolation, although they have started bringing in live events and live venues, which has kind of changed the sport. And I think we're going to see more of that going forward. But yeah, it's a completely different discipline. There's a new challenge that I'm looking forward to, though, in terms of cycling. There's this cool gravel stage race that has been launched in South Africa. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Gravel Burn.
Yeah.
Called the Gravel Burn.
Yes, I think the creators of Cape Epic created Gravel Burn. Yeah. Yes. I want to get to Gravel Burn. Yeah, it sounds amazing. I think how many days?
It's 7 days.
7? Yeah.
7 days, 850 kilometers spread over 7 days. There's for the pro riders, there's $150,000 prize purse, and it's going through remote, spectacular gravel terrain that I don't think anyone in Europe and the rest of the world have any idea what's out there. You're going to get to see wild animals. You're going to get to see rhino, elephants, giraffe, buffalo.
Magical, magical.
There's amazing campsites. There's age group racing. It's not a team event, so you don't have to ride as a partner. Just because it's going to be high speed and you're going to be in a peloton racing, like rubbing shoulders with riders. I think the idea of perhaps having a team aspect there could cause problems if you're looking back for your partner and someone in front of you slams on your brakes. It's a difference. It's a completely different kettle of fish. But I think this is something that's going to catch on.
So are you going?
I'm going. Yeah. I'm racing.
So jealous. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I want to get an entry. It looks amazing. I have also a friend who is going, and there's no bad day on a bicycle usually unless you crash, I guess. But one of my favorite riding and core memories are in Africa. I mean, I loved like the migration race in Kenya. I did race around Rwanda. In Rwanda, I did some bike pack in Tanzania. On my Ironman days, I did the Ironman in South Africa. So it's just, Africa is truly, truly special.
Yeah, so you're very familiar with the place. Yeah, it's
so vast. I feel like I don't know enough. I really want more,
It's a very unique place, and it's culturally so diverse. What you get to experience there, you can't. I mean, Europe is beautiful. It's beautiful for different reasons, but there's a raw kind of element to Africa. It's raw, it's tough, but it's beautiful. You don't get the same sunsets as you do in Africa, and there's a rawness that I really appreciate from that place.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. Wow, I'm so jealous now. Gravel burn.
Get your entry. Let's get that sorted out.
Yeah. So is there anything else besides tire that you think it's breaking out in the market now, that you think it's gonna be a breakthrough?
I mean, there's a lot of train of thought around bringing suspension into gravel. So whether that's in the seat post, in the top tube, into the seat tube intersection, or physically putting in a small 80 millimeter suspension fork on your bike. To me, I think that is just a fad at the moment. Why not just ride a mountain bike if that's what you want?
Exactly my thoughts.
Yeah. The whole idea about a gravel bike is taking that similar riding position and speed that you get on a road bike and being able to do that on a different surface and enjoying that off-road. Whether you want to embrace the all-road nature of it, where you can just ride your bike on the road, and if you want to take a different path home, you can turn left and go through the forest. So be it. I think the frames have more comfort dialed into them, and they're a lot more compliant than the bikes we were using just a few years ago when gravel was still in its infancy. And I think for me the path forward is tires. Other than that, I mean, I think the way that they've improved or the brands have improved braking performance through disc brakes is phenomenal. What SRAM has done with the new Red Access, the brakes are just absolutely amazing. The modulation through those levers are unreal. I mean, you can powerfully brake in the drops or on the hoods.
Wow.
Couldn't really do that before, but there's just so much feel within the stopping power that you shouldn't have any
And
issue.
I think they made the levers smaller as well, because before it was so big. Like, I'm not a big human, so it's hard to reach.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people out there who have an issue with SRAM in general. They say that they don't appreciate the shifting issues they have, or the hood design was too chunky. But SRAM works phenomenally well when it's set up by an expert. Don't tinker with that on your own and expect it to work. Get it set up by an expert. You're not going to drop a chain. And yes, perhaps the previous generation Red, Force, and Rival had slightly chunkier hoods, but that's been addressed, especially on Red.
Yes.
I mean, It's a beautiful shape. It's a lovely interface to rest your hands on now. The lever adjust is superb, and they changed the piston position within the lever. That's why now you can brake from the tops and also in the drops, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm glad they're taking the feedback and making changes, and yeah, it's quite powerful. I tried the other day. I don't remember which one it was, but I had to rent a bike on a work trip, and I used RAM for the first time. I'm like, oh, actually, I like it. Sometimes we get stuck on what we know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer that we're in a place in time where there's no such thing as a rubbish product. Everything actually is at a good level and everything is good. It just comes down to personal preference now. Shimano is fantastic. It looks good. It's understated. It works. It's got a good reputation. But SRAM is also on the same level. Their drivetrains their group sets are possibly more attractive in terms of the aesthetics. The way they bring in contrasting shades of silver, metallic surfaces, just ornate details. It looks really good. And for certain bikes, I would perhaps lean on pairing it with the SRAM group set just for aesthetic merit. Whereas a different bike, I want something more understated. So I'm going to go Shimano or Campagnolo. So it just depends.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they're all pretty much on the same level. Of course, there's going to be small little hiccups and fine-tuning issues across all of those group sets. But at the end of the day, it comes down to preference and perhaps just something that's been used within your family or your friends for years. So if your father was using Shimano, he's going to tell you, I only use Shimano, you need to use Shimano, this is junk, that is junk. You need to try things. I always say to everyone, don't knock it before you rock it, or try before you buy. Just before you have something negative to say about something, try it out, see if it works for you, because the chances are you didn't give it a chance.
Yeah, and if you didn't try, how can you say bad things about it? You just don't know.
Of course, I'm in a fortunate position because I get to try absolutely everything. But then at the same time, the advice that I give, people can trust it because I've got a lot of stuff I'm testing. My house is under bikes. You don't want to know what things look like on the other side yet. Pretty rough.
And I was going to ask, what are you riding then?
I've got a lot of bikes at the moment. So the bike I'm testing, I was actually gonna mention at the end when we go through some of the tech. But it's a Cube Lightning.
Okay.
I may as well chat about it now, and then we can chat.
Yeah.
So it's called a Cube Lightning C68X SLX. It's a bit of a mouthful. So it's a Cube Lightning C68X SLX Red Axis. There's a lot to take.
Wow.
I know.
Yes.
And it's a brand that I think has been living in the shadows for a long time. It's a German brand. It's not something that you associate with performance or even cycling in general, which is a bit of a shame because it's top-notch stuff.
I think they are a little bit more in spotlight in triathlon.
I mean, they are used in the World Tour by Intermarché.
Yeah.
They've won some stages with Birmin Gourmet. So it's out there. It's not getting the recognition it deserves. I think current riders who have been with a particular brand for a long time, they tend to stay with that brand. And then riders coming up, your younger riders, they want aspirational stuff. So they want Specialized, Cannondale, Trek, Canyon.
Yeah.
They don't want the Cube, but they need to get the Cube. And the reason for that is the value for money is absolutely unbelievable. Okay, so this particular bike, it's top of the range. It's 6.4 kilograms. I mean, it's lighter than UCI limit. Obviously, you can make it heavier if you need to, but it's 7,500 pounds. So you could buy two of these bikes for a Specialized S-Works SLX or Cannondale Super 6 Lab 71. You can buy two of those bikes, and it's fully loaded. It's got absolutely everything. Super light. It's the climbing version, so you do get an aero version of this bike, but this is the climbing version, so it's super light. It's There's so many colorways to choose from. And if even the wheels, they've got a brand, it's called Newman wheels. The valves are hidden within the rim walls. So
Wow.
there's aero valves. You need a special tool to inflate them. So there's crazy little bits and pieces and small details within this bike. But that's a special bike. I'm busy reviewing it now. That review is going to be live on Road.cc probably in the next 2 weeks. I'm just finishing up my note. Yeah, but I mean,
nice.
it's the guys that I ride with, it's opened their eyes. They cannot believe the value for money you can get. And it's just cannot believe people would rather spend double the money and go for a brand when they're going to have just as much fun, if not better fun, on the Cube Lightning. What a great brand, honestly. Really good.
Wow, that's good to know. And what is the advantage of having oh my God, now it's blinking.
The valve.
Yeah.
I think there might be,
is that an arrow chains?
Yeah, I think it's an aero advantage. We probably need to get that tested in a wind tunnel just to see the actual reasoning behind that. But it was, when the bike first arrived, I wanted to pump the tires up and I couldn't find the valve. So I was like, what is going on here? And then I saw it's got a little cover over the valve that you can lift up. There's a little like a rubber grommet. And even if you don't have the special adapter, you can, if you take your bicycle pump and you just remove the head, you can take the rubber hose and just squeeze it over and pump.
Okay.
It's just another talking point, really. I mean, you're on the right coffee stop and you're talking about bikes, and then someone's like, where are your valves? It's something to talk about. It's one of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I think people should look more into, what can you get for your money? But again, it's so hard when you don't understand but people are spending a lot of money on big brands, which are wonderful. I used to have an S-Works and I loved it, but it's just like you said, it's so much money that you're paying for the brand.
Yeah.
And you could get something equal value.
It is a good bike, but I mean, if you're now spending 50% less, think about all the other things you can actually get. You can get new shoes, new cycling computer, new kit, new pedals. You can look into getting the wider tires I spoke about. There's all sorts of things. Yeah. Speaking of which, there's something I've just got on test. I had to wait a long time for these because these were custom made for me.
Wow.
The viewers, the listeners probably won't see this, but I wanted to show you. It's a
the Nimble.
Nimble Exceed Ultimate Glide road shoes. These sexy shoe, really sexy shoe. Very, very expensive.
Handmade, right?
Yeah. 465 pounds. I think it's around 500 euro. So it's not pocket change. But I think it's really cool with the BOA Li2 dials. You can get it in 3 colors. It comes in white with gold boas, white with silver boas, or the black with the gold. I thought about the black because I like a black road shoe. In England, I don't know why. Maybe one of the listeners can comment on this, but regardless of the weather, white shoes, white socks, white helmets. That's what they're
same here in Girona. It's like you can only wear white shoes and white socks. And, I'm a black sheep. I do have the black because I'm like, I don't want to get, especially on the gravel, I don't want to get all dirty.
Exactly. You're going to ruin your socks. I mean, you can use your socks twice and then they're trashed.
That's it.
I'm waiting for the right weather to take these
Same.
out for a proper test. But I mean, it's for me, when I look at shoes, because it's one of 3 contact points with the bike. So you got your bum with the saddle, you got your hands, and then you got your feet. I think feet are the most important because that's
you're transferring the power. Yeah,
exactly. So there are 3 aspects when it comes to the shoe for me personally, and it's comfort. Without comfort, the shoe's useless. You can throw it in the trash. Then there's performance, and this comes through the fit, the retention system, and the sole stiffness. Okay, and then it's the weight of the shoe. So that's the sum of all the parts put together. So in this case, with this shoe, I think it balances everything, all 3 attributes well together. So it's a comfortable performance shoe, and 190 grams, just to give you an idea. It's like, weighs absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Air.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I mean, it's got a carbon monocoque sort of sole, chassis, as they call it, replaceable wheel pad. Yes, you can race in this. I don't think I'll race in this just because, knowing my luck, I'm going to end up on the ground again and I'll trash my shoes. So I'll put these through. We'll put
It's
these.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I will put these through the ring and do a proper test, but these will be for special days. I don't want to mess these ones up.
Yeah, and I would love to hear more about it once you test it, if it's worth every penny that it costs.
Yeah, of course. And then there's something else that arrived for testing, which has been quite polarizing, not just among our tech team, but cyclists as a whole, and it's the Wahoo Element ACE.
Yes, tell me about it.
Which is quite a big boy. For scale, that's a Wahoo Element Roam.
Wow.
Okay.
It's much bigger.
And then here's an iPhone, so it just shows you the size. So it's big and it's heavy, right? But there's a lot more to this computer than meets the eye. And there's a lot more to it than those two attributes. I think cycling has become too obsessed on performance and weight savings. And Wahoo has pretty much given the middle finger to this because they think this is what cyclists need. Particularly, I think your adventure bikepacking cyclists, right? So they've created a product for everyone. You can use it if you're a professional or someone who enjoys the performance side of cycling. I don't think those cyclists will just because of the weight. I think it's around 200 grams, 210 grams, something around there. So it's not light. It's not light, but it's not massively heavy. It's not massively heavy.
No.
The screen is really good. It's crisp and clear. So if you're someone who needs really clear navigational prompts, this is the device for you. It's really good.
Yeah.
The brightness, I think, is not on par with your Garmin sort of 1040s or your Hammerhead Karus, but it isn't something that's shouldn't put you off the product. It's compatible with all existing Wahoo mounts, but the slight issue is that if you want to fit this on your existing Wahoo mount on your bike, it's not going to fit because
the length.
Yeah, it's really, really long. So you either need to use the supplied mount, which is not going to work with every bar because some people have integrated bar stem setups, but you can get things aftermarket. Racewear sent me something that was custom made. It's slightly longer. The support is really good. It distributes, I don't know what they've done, but it distributes the weight evenly over that mount. So even if you push on it, there's not much movement. It's nice and sleek, and it kind of houses the product quite well. This has a little party trick. It's got a bell function, which the new Garmin has too. But if you're riding around densely populated areas, you just hold the screen in, and it's pretty loud.
Nice. I would love that. I have a little bell on my bike, which my husband's left at me. But I'm like, I can't, because we live in Old Town in Girona. There's so many people and so many tourists. They're like not looking where they're going. And I'm like, I think now this is a feature I didn't know about the ACE. So maybe I do need it because I'm also terrible with the navigation. I have the Roam, which is great and it works. But what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, is that on the ACE, you can actually touch screen and move the map around, zoom in, zoom out.
Yeah.
That'll help me because I have, if you tell me go north, east, southwest, I'm like, no clue. I'm clueless with direction. So it's good to be able to zoom in and zoom out and see where I am. And
so it works exactly like your Element Roam. So it's got physical buttons too that work exactly as it would on your Roam. Just has that touchscreen element too. So if you do need to zoom in, move around, or just want to use your finger for some reason, you can do that. So I mentioned that the mapping is as good as any other Wahoo device. I really like the Wahoo mapping, but this particular device comes with something called a wind sensor, which has been all the talk of the town. It's not an aero sensor like many thought it was when information on this device was first leaked, but rather it's a airspeed monitor for you to use, so you can compare that to the ground speed, and you can improve your positioning within a pack if you really want to. So it works. I've used it a few times. It does give you an indication where the wind is coming from and where you can be more efficient. But I think it's something that's going to be improved over time. It's cool now. Is it going to help me now? Probably not. But I think it's something, there's a lot of merit within that.
It's a cool feature if you are that geek or that precise and really want to be, any gain is a gain. It sounds like a really cool feature.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good. I mean, it's not the biggest device that has ever been made. I don't know if you ever saw the original Hammerhead Karoo, the first one.
I just pictures. I never had got my hands on one.
That thing was huge, absolutely huge. So this isn't the biggest device ever made. I'm of the opinion that something like this is probably handier than a smaller screen. I know people go on about weight, but sometimes I like having a lot of metrics on my screen. I have different screens with different metrics, and sometimes the screen is too small to accommodate them. Whereas this, I can have a whole lot, and it's going to be crystal clear. So for me, I'm enjoying it at the moment, and yeah, I mean, I do a road race with this on my bike, especially if it's the Cube that's 6.4 kilograms. I mean.
Exactly. So you compensate there. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I thought about, I need reading glasses. So when I'm in my computer or looking at my phone, I need reading glasses. So of course on the bike, I cannot wear reading glasses because I need to look where I'm going. So I was thinking maybe the ACE, because it's a little bit bigger. If I don't have as much data there, it might be easier for me to read. On the ROM, I can read everything, but it's because I know where the data is, I know where my, but if I am to read the legend of each not power output, like at each data, I wouldn't know what it is, but because I'm familiar with my setup, I know, so I don't need, but I think the ACE would be good for me and anyone that has struggles, to read while on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap. It's kind of up there with your common 1040s. In British pounds, it's like 550. So I assume it's going to be, 580 euros, maybe even close to 600. So
600, yeah.
It's quite an investment, but it's something that's going to last. And they're always rolling out different firmware updates, and they're pretty on top of it. I think it's going to be pretty good, to be honest. I like it a lot.
Awesome. So glad we talked about this because, I mean, when I had a problem with Wahoo before that, I was on an endurance, it wasn't a race, it was like a rally, and my Wahoo just wouldn't turn on. And I freaked out. I mean, this can happen, right? And then that's when I thought about the Hammerhead. I was like, maybe I'll get the Hammerhead. It's bigger, colorful, like the map, whatever. But then Wahoo was wonderful. When I told them, they were like, no worries, we'll send you a new one. Yeah, so it's very good brand.
Yeah, it's that level of after sales support that keeps people loyal to a brand.
And mine was old, like wasn't in the warranty or anything. They didn't ask anything. They're like, here it is.
That just shows you the character of the brand and what they're willing to do to retain their customers, which I think speaks volumes. So that's pretty cool. There's something else I'm also testing. It's more on sort of the indoor side of things. So it's the Zwift Ride.
Okay.
I know there are a lot of people out there who think, there's no point having something dedicated for your indoor setup. Not going to use a kicker bike or a watt bike or whatever. They're just going to bolt their bike on the trainer, and that's that. And I'm fine with that. I do that too, but I've also got this on test, and it's kind of opened my eyes to the other side. So you've got a bike dedicated to Zwift, so it's only compatible with Zwift. You can buy it as a frame only. That's about £800, or as a bundle. So it comes as the frame. It comes with the frame and a Wahoo kicker core, and that boosts the price up to £1,200 around there. So what's cool about it is it's heavy, of course. I mean, that's going to happen, but that weight makes it really sturdy. So it's a solid platform from which to pedal. It's made from a really hard-wearing material, so it's not going to get destroyed by sweat and corrosion. I've had some terrible things happen to my handlebar bolts and parts of my bike just from sweat over time. You don't realize it. It's proper corrosive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you buy the Zwift Ride as a bike only, it's only compatible with a certain amount of aftermarket trainers. So it can be the Wahoo Kicker Core, the Wahoo Kicker V5, V6. There's a couple of elite trainers too. But to make it compatible, you need to buy the Zwift cog, which is almost like a single speed cog that you fit onto the free hub,
Okay.
and the bike just works. So it's essentially a single speed, but it's got virtual shifting in game. So it's got the full range. It's got the Zwift Play controllers built in, so you can navigate through the game, give people ride-ons, operate your power-ups. You can do everything from the controls. You don't need to lean onto your computer and press the space bar or whatever. You can race on it if you want. It is sturdy, but if you're a crazy sprinter with like insane power, it is going to kind of rock from side to side. So I think if you're an elite racer, you're probably better off with a kicker bike or your personal race bike on a smart trainer. But if you're a recreational cyclist, someone who enjoys to exercise, someone who's serious about cycling, I would go for the Zwift Ride. And what's nice about it is you can adjust it. So you can have a setup for yourself, your husband, your child.
Oh, wow.
And you can move the handlebar reach. You can raise the stem. You can drop the saddle, increase the saddle. So in that regard, it's something that I think certain families who possibly struggle for space and they can't have too many setups. You can have one setup for the whole family, and it works really well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Also, you don't have to buy different trainers, and also you don't have to be, putting in your bike, taking off your bike, and then put it on the wheel, and then go for a ride, and then take it off, put it back on the trainer. Plus the sweating factor that you mentioned. Yeah. I would love something like that for my pain cave.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't mind taking the bike off the trainer, putting it back on. I don't have any problem with someone who does that. I've done that for years, and I'm someone who enjoys that kind of setup, especially for the elite racing side of things. But if you're a family and you're in a smaller space than some other people, and you want to maximize your space, and you want the whole family to use the same setup, I would go for that. It works really well. And yeah, it's easy to wipe down and clean. And it's just something different. I think Zwift are leading the charge when it comes to these things. I know some can argue that it's possibly overpriced, or they're just trying to lock people into their platform. But most of the riders out there are using Zwift. It's more of a sort of social community based platform. And that's what most of us enjoy, really.
Yeah. It's fun when you see, a friend, or you go on the same rides, but you don't need to be in the same room, the same country. And what's the problem of them wanting to lock in people in their platform? That's the business. That's what they should do. So, yeah.
Yeah, so those are the things that have been very interesting and that have come through the doors. There's a lot more coming in the next weeks, and there's probably other things that I'm still busy testing that I can't talk about right now, which I will be able to in the coming weeks. So there's some special things too. So just wanted to highlight a few of the things that we discussed now. Yeah.
All right, I love the mystery. I am so excited that we are chatting, and we're going to have this special edition with a few series of whatever it's coming our way to test. Any listener or anyone watching, if you want to shout out and ask any questions or ask about the product, I'm sure Aaron would love to share his view. So let us know.
Yeah, please. I hope that we get some questions, and even if it's about some of the events we discussed, or something about Gravel Burn or Cape Epic or esports or racing indoors, or any of the products that we've touched on now. If you have questions, or you want to know about other products or future products, or things that we can maybe discuss in more detail, please get in touch. I'd love to talk about those things.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you so much for your time, and I'm very excited to release this episode and chat with you again in the near future when you have more to share with me.
Of course. Thank you very much. And again, I really appreciate being part of this podcast, and look forward to doing many more. Thank you.
Awesome. And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.